The story of the disappearing people of Crow Hollow begins with an unsettling sense of isolation, as if the town itself is hiding from the world. Crow Hollow is not a place that appears on many maps, or if it does, the markings are faint, as though the land itself resists being known. Nestled between dense forests and steep, mist-covered hills, the town is shrouded in an almost perpetual twilight, the kind of gloom that lingers even at midday. The air carries the scent of damp earth and something older, something faintly metallic, like rust or dried blood. Visitors are rare, and those who do pass through often leave quickly, unnerved by the way the locals watch them in silence from porches and shadowed windows. The town's few remaining residents move like ghosts, speaking in hushed tones and avoiding direct questions. There are no children playing in the streets, no laughter echoing from the old tavern. Instead, there are empty houses, some with furniture still inside, meals left half-eaten on tables, as if the occupants simply stood up and walked out mid-breath. The narrator, often a journalist, a detective, or someone searching for a missing loved one, arrives with a mix of skepticism and unease. They might notice the way the wind carries whispers when no one is there, or how the crows, always watching from the gnarled trees, seem to follow their movements with an unnatural intelligence. The town's few remaining inhabitants offer vague warnings. Don't stay after dark, or some things are best left buried. But no one explains why. Then there are the posters, peeling, yellowed sheets nailed to boarded-up doors and abandoned storefronts. Missing, they declare, though the dates span decades. A farmer in 1923, a school teacher in 1957, a group of teenagers in 1981. All gone without a trace. No signs of struggle, no bodies, just silence. As the sun dips below the trees, the narrator feels it, the weight of Crow Hollow's secret pressing down, the unshakable sense that they are being watched not just by the crows or the hollow-eyed locals, but by something far older, something hungry. And then, just as the last light fades, a single question lingers in the gathering dark. Who will disappear tonight? The truth about Crow Hollow doesn't reveal itself easily. It lingers in the gaps between words, in the way the old men at the tavern fall silent when a stranger asks too many questions, in the way mothers pull their curtains shut before dusk. But if you listen, if you press just hard enough, someone will finally relent. Maybe it's the town's oldest resident, a withered woman with clouded eyes who smells of camphor and candle wax. Maybe it's the bartender who slides a drink across the counter and says, low and rough, "You want to know what happened here? Fine, but you won't sleep after." And so the story unfolds, like a grave being uncovered. The first disappearance wasn't the first at all, just the first anyone would admit to. It began with a child. Little Eli Vickers, the storyteller murmurs, fingers tracing the rim of their glass. Sweet boy. Went out to fetch eggs from the hen house one evening in 43. Never came back. They searched for him, of course. The whole town turned out with lanterns and dogs, calling his name into the woods until their voices cracked. But the dogs whined and backed away, their tails tucked between their legs. The lanterns flickered for no reason, as if something unseen was breathing against the flames. And then, just before dawn, they found the eggs, still cradled in Eli's little basket, unbroken, cold. That's when we knew. The storyteller whispers. Wasn't no animal, wasn't no kidnapper. Something took him, something that don't leave tracks. After that, the vanishings came slow, then all at once. A hunter who swore he saw people who weren't people moving between the trees, gone the next day, his rifle still leaning against his front door. A preacher who raved about the hollow ones before locking himself in his church vanished by morning, though the door never opened. The town's panic curdled into silence. They stopped speaking the names of the lost, as if that might protect them. But the disappearances kept coming. And the worst part? Sometimes, the storyteller admits, voice breaking, sometimes, for a second, you'd see him again, standing at the edge of the woods or in the mirror behind you, then gone. A shudder passes through the room. The fire in the hearth gutters, though no window is open. That's why we don't talk about it, the bartender finally says, tossing back his whiskey. That's why you should leave. But it's too late. Outside, the crows begin to scream, and somewhere in the dark, something listens. The narrator doesn't leave. They can't. Whether it's stubbornness, professional duty, or something deeper, some slow creeping unease that roots them to Crow Hollow, they stay. And that's when the real horror begins. The investigation starts in daylight, as if the sun could offer protection. The narrator walks the town's skeletal streets, knocking on doors that haven't opened in years. Some houses are frozen in time, a coffee cup still half full on a kitchen table, a child's toy abandoned mid-play, dust settling like a shroud. Other homes are stripped bare, as if the occupants tried to flee but never made it out. The townspeople who do speak offer fractured truths. Old Miss Driscoll, her gnarled hands clutching a rosary, claims she saw the missing preacher walk into the mist the night he disappeared. Except it wasn't him no more. His face was all wrong. A gaunt farmer, his eyes sunken from lack of sleep, mutters about the thing in the well before slamming his door. Then there are the records, or lack of them. The town ledger shows gaps where names should be. Newspaper archives mention disappearances only in passing, as if the truth is being systematically erased. The narrator finds a sheriff's report from 1951, its edges brittle with age. The final line is underlined in frantic, ink-blotted script. No signs of struggle, no evidence. God help us, it's happening again. But the most damning clue is the pattern. Every disappearance is tied to the same lunar phase, the same unnatural fog that rolls in against the wind. And always, always, there are the crows, perched on fence posts and rooftops, watching with eyes too knowing to be animal. That night, the narrator dreams of hands pressing against glass. They wake to find their notebook open to a page they don't remember writing. It doesn't take them. It replaces them. And outside, in the pre-dawn gloom, something moves between the trees. Not an animal, not a man, just a shape where a shape shouldn't be. The investigation has begun, but so has the hunt. The deeper the narrator digs, the heavier the air in Crow Hollow becomes, thick with the weight of unsaid things, of histories buried but not forgotten. There is a moment, late one night in the musty back room of the town's abandoned library, or amidst the crumbling headstones of the overgrown cemetery, when the pieces finally click together. And the truth is worse than they ever imagined. It begins with a name, whispered like a curse. Ezra Holloway. Long ago, when Crow Hollow was little more than a scattering of homesteads clinging to the edge of the wilderness, Ezra was the town's first and only preacher. But his sermons spoke less of salvation and more of something older, something hungry. The soil was barren, the winters cruel, and as starvation gnawed at the villagers' bones, Ezra offered them a way out, a pact. "We give, and it provides," he had said. No one remembers the exact words spoken that night beneath the gnarled oak at the town's edge, or what was sacrificed to seal the bargain. But the next morning, the fields were lush, the game plentiful, and Ezra, he was gone, vanished, the first disappearance. But the town soon learned the terrible price of their survival. Every generation, the hunger returned. Not of the body, but of the thing they had bargained with. It demanded repayment. Not crops, not livestock. People. At first, they drew lots. Then, when the guilt became too much, they turned a blind eye as the disappearances happened on their own. Random, inexplicable. The crows would gather, the mist would rise, and by morning, another soul would be gone. No bodies, no traces, just empty beds and cold hearths. The darkest secret, though, is what happens to those taken. The narrator finds the proof in Ezra's own journal, hidden beneath the floorboards of the old church. The pages are brittle, the ink faded, but the words are unmistakable. They are not lost. They are with it. And sometimes it sends them back. The final entry is a single sentence, scrawled in haste. God forgive us, we did not know they would come home wrong. Outside, the wind howls through the trees like a chorus of distant weeping voices. And for the first time, the narrator understands. The disappearances were never the horror. The returns were. The air in Crow Hollow has grown thick with the scent of damp earth and something older, something metallic, like old blood on stone. The narrator knows too much now. The town feels it. The thing that watches from the woods feels it too. It begins with a sound. Late at night, as the narrator pores over Ezra Holloway's journal by the guttering light of a kerosene lamp, the house groans. Not the usual settling of old timber, but something deliberate, testing, a scrape of branches against the window. Number. The trees are still. Then comes the knocking. Not at the door, but at the walls, as if something is circling the house, trailing its fingers along the clapboard, searching for a way in. The narrator's breath fogs in the suddenly frigid air. The lamp flickers, though no draft stirs the flame. Outside, the crows are silent. That's the worst part, the silence. Then, a whisper. Not from the window, not from the door, from inside the room. A voice, dry as dead leaves, murmurs just behind their ear. You shouldn't have read that. The narrator whirls around. Nothing there. But the journal is gone. In its place, a single crow's feather, black as a void, lies on the desk. That's when the screaming starts. Not human. Not animal. A sound that seems to come from the earth itself, shuddering up through the floorboards. The narrator stumbles to the window and sees them, figures in the mist standing at the tree line. Too tall, too still. Their faces are indistinct, smudged like charcoal sketches, but the narrator feels their gaze like a physical weight. One of them raises a hand, points. The front door bursts open. Cold air rushes in, carrying the scent of turned soil and rotting pumpkins. The lamp snuffs out. In the darkness, something moves, not toward the narrator, but past them, as if they're already insignificant, as if what comes next is inevitable. Then, from the street outside, a single, choked cry. A neighbor's voice, cut off mid-prayer. By morning, another house stands empty, and the narrator knows the thing doesn't just take people, it chooses. The truth comes to the narrator in fragments, like shards of a broken mirror reflecting something too terrible to face whole. It begins with the returns, a knock at the door in the dead of night. The narrator, half mad with sleeplessness, opens it to find Eli Vickers, the boy who vanished in 1943, standing on the porch. His clothes are damp with dew, his face untouched by time. But his eyes are wrong, too dark, too deep, like looking into a well with no bottom. They let me come back, he says, smiling with teeth too sharp for a child, but I had to bring something with me. Behind him, the mist coils like a living thing. Shapes move within it, tall, emaciated, their limbs bending at impossible angles. The narrator stumbles back, but Eli steps forward, his voice dropping to a whisper that slithers into the ear like a worm. It's not taking us. It's making us. You don't disappear in Crow Hollow. You change. And then the final piece clicks into place. The disappearances were never the end. The crows, the mist, the whispers, they're not signs of abduction. They're birth pangs. The thing in the woods doesn't steal people. It unmakes them, strips them down to something hollow, and fills them with whatever ancient hunger lives in the soil of Crow Hollow. The missing don't vanish. They come back, and they're always hungry. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next one. Bye for now.